Ever since the debacle going on with Dana White and his wife, and during New Year's in Mexico, I've been getting sent stories about people who were a part or once a part of or may still be a part of the UFC organization who have been getting into domestic disputes with their partners, with their spouses. First, it was Dana White. Then I did that video about that man named Kane Carrizosa. Now we're about to talk about a man by the name of Phil Baroni, who was just moved to state prison after he allegedly, that's what the article was saying, took out his girlfriend in Mexico. And by the way, I did find out who that other UFC fighter was who I couldn't think of their name. Their fighting name was War Machine, but their real name is Jonathan Copenhagen. And of course, he's currently doing time in jail because of what he was involved with. And if you notice something about these names, this Carrizosa and this Baroni, they sound Italian. Now, I don't know what part of the map Copenhagen falls onto, but it's just something that just has been sticking out to me. But again, remember, UFC is pretty much an overwhelmingly PC sport. But I wonder if Ari Emanuel was going to say something about this. Probably not. Former UFC and Pride FC fighter Phil Baroni has been moved to a state prison in Mexico after allegedly murdering his girlfriend in a hotel room. Mexican news outlet Tribuna de la Bahia broke the news of Baroni's arrest for the alleged crime on January 3rd. Again, happening all around the same time. That's crazy. Dana White happened. The situation with his wife happened on New Year's Eve or maybe early New Year's Day. Then you had Kane Carrizosa. His happened like the day after, and now his happened the day after that. Like literally, I'm waiting to see what day 4 and 5 is looking like. You got a whole week worth of debauchery going on within people who were attached to the UFC, or still are in the case of Dana White. It says Baroni, age 46, flagged down law enforcement in the neighborhood of the hotel and told them that his girlfriend was unconscious and needed help. When police arrived at the scene, they discovered a nude woman on a bed covered in a sheet with no vital signs. After examining the female, they noticed injuries, including bruises to her face and body. Baroni was questioned, detained, and charged. I've always wondered why people who do stuff like this to their spouses tell this lie to the authorities that their significant other is unconscious and not responding, and I think something has happened. And then when they come and examine the body, you can clearly see that this person has been through the ringer. Like, if you were going to try to cover it up as if you did not murder your spouse, try not leaving any markings on their body to show that there was a struggle or there was any type of abuse. Like, try to make it not look so obvious. Like, they weren't going to see that this woman had bruises on her face and body that was clearly visible to let you know she was probably beaten to death. Carlos Contreras Legaspi of ESPN Deportes provided an update to Baroni's situation on Saturday. Update on the Phil Baroni case. The former Pride SF UFC fighter has been transported to a tepid capital of Nayarit, where he is now in a state prison. His hearing will be on Monday, where a judge will determine his legal status. If guilty, sentence goes from 30 to 50 years, Legaspi wrote on Twitter. Baroni last fought in 2019 in China for the Rebel FC middleweight championship. He was defeated by Cy Wang. The New York Badass fought in the UFC from 2001 to 2005 until he was released after losing 4 consecutive bouts. After competing in Pride, Strikeforce, and Elite XC, Baroni returned to the UFC for 2 more fights, and he lost both of them. It sounds to me like this guy was just a loser all the way around. Like, look at that. This guy had a very small, short window of a career, and within that short window of time, he really didn't do shit with it. It's the way that they broke it down. It seems he lost more than he won, if he even won. And that's the whole article right there. So it's just like, it's not much coming from him. By the way, I'm actually recording this video on the day of the next update to come involving his case. Is lamestream media going to talk about this? I know, the rhetorical question. It's a rhetorical question for anyone out there. We know that they're not going to talk about it. If they're not going to talk about Dana White, who is the president of the UFC, if they're not going to talk about Kane Carrizosa, who caused his girlfriend to convulse, then we know that they're not going to talk about this guy right here. And this guy went the distance and actually took out his girlfriend. This seems the only fight this man ever won was the one where he takes out someone who's smaller in size than him and cannot really stand up to him like that. I guess that was his way of taking out his frustration on all the losses that he's taken in his entire short career. That's crazy. This guy is like no winner whatsoever. This guy's just a natural born loser and a lame at that. And now he done caused someone to lose their life, and he about to lose his life to the system. And they said if he gets found guilty of his crimes, which I don't see how he can't be found guilty, he's done. Because they say he's 46 now. So if he got 30 years, that means he'll get out when he's what, 7? Well, depending on when he gets sentenced, he'll be in the 70s. If he gets 50, he'll be damn near 100. And they said he's getting sentenced in Mexico, not here in the States. In Mexico, because that's where the crime happened. And state prisons is bad here, but I can only imagine what it's like there. Well, honestly, I don't want to imagine what it's like there, but if I did, I can pretty much guess it's probably worse over there. He has no one else to blame but himself, but I wish lamestream media would cover a story like this the way that I am, or the way those of us over at the New Black Media are talking about it, because we seem to be the only ones keeping this stuff alive. And I know they hate that. But see, when you're not bound by a contract, you can do that.